Hey there, it's Wednesday, which means it's time for another Ask Me Anything session with your friendly neighborhood book editor. I've been loving seeing all of the questions in my queue, so please keep them coming. These sessions have been a really fun way for me to continue giving you information that maybe wouldn't have come up in any of my other videos. Before we get started, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, go into the description below and follow the link to grab my free story self-assessment if you have a work in progress. It's going to help you take your draft to the next level, and it will sign you up for my exclusive newsletter launching soon. Without further ado, let's dive right in. First question here. I was wondering if you could share your impressions on some of the smaller / indie publishers in the traditional publishing space. Catapult, Feminist Press, Grey Wolf, Soft Skull, etc. Pros and cons or anything to keep in mind when comparing to the big five. This is an excellent question, and I'm really glad that you brought it up because it's something I haven't really touched on much on my channel so far. I've really focused on big five and then self-publishing, but there are publishing paths that fall somewhere in between, such as traditional publishers that are smaller and don't operate as part of the big five corporations like the ones you named. The key here is to make sure that you vet the publishing house that you are considering and ensure that they are reputable and are going to give you good distribution that you couldn't get on your own via self-publishing. Some of the presses that you mentioned have an extremely good reputation in the industry, and there are definitely cases where authors actually opt to go with those presses over, say, Random House, especially for works that are operating more in the literary fiction space. So there are a few considerations to keep in mind. One, as I just alluded to, would be genre. Are these smaller presses more established in your specific genre? Do they publish authors that you love? Then maybe that could be a better fit for you. The second point would be to consider the editors that you would be working with. Maybe you jive better with the editor at the smaller indie publisher than you do with the editor who you might be matched with at one of the big five houses. Typically, you would still need a literary agent to publish with presses like Catapult or Grey Wolf, and the publishing process would look similar to if an agent was submitting to a big five publishing house. So also have a conversation with your literary agent about if these smaller presses could be a good fit for you and what the pros and cons would be. It might be possible that they can't offer you the same advance that a bigger publishing house could, but maybe editorially it's just a better match. So in short, do your research, talk to your agent, but if these presses publish books that feel similar to yours and you admire the books that they publish, then they absolutely should be considered as a publishing option for you. Here's another question. What should an author do if they end up with multiple offers of representation? So this absolutely happens, and it's a great position to be in as an author because it means there's not just one agent who wants to work with you. You don't just have one option, but there are different agents who are interested in taking you on as a client. You're in the power here to make that decision as to which agent is the best fit for you, and make sure you take your time to do so. Oftentimes, writers get an offer of representation and are just so excited and afraid that they're not going to get another one that they go for it and just dive head first and maybe end up breaking up with that agent later on because it wasn't the right fit. So if you get an offer of representation, the best practice is to inform all of the agents who you have queried but who haven't gotten back to you yet that you got an offer of representation, and then oftentimes that will spur them to review your query faster and then decide if they also want to move forward with you. And then that can put you in a position where you have multiple offers of representation. So now let's talk about what to do once you get here. You're gonna have phone conversations with the agents. Make sure that you talk to them one-on-one and you get a sense for their working style, their thoughts on your manuscript. When they read it, did they have any initial critiques? Most agents do have some editorial involvement with the manuscript before they submit it to publishing houses. Some are more editorially involved than others, so that's something else to consider. But get their overall impressions on your manuscript and get a sense for if you agree with their feedback. Have they pinpointed some ideas for revision that really resonate with you? Or do those ideas for revision not resonate with you? That's also going to tell you a lot about how you might work together. Another thing to consider is the agent's track record. Are they at a more established agency or are they at a newer or smaller agency? Remember that smaller agencies are not always less reputable. In fact, some of the most reputable agencies only have a handful or even one agent, but you do want to look at their track record of what authors they represent and what books they have published. Are they working with best-selling authors, or are they just getting their foot in the door and getting more established? One is not necessarily better than another, but it does give you a sense of what kind of support they can offer you. A really good idea, if they don't have a lot of information on the website especially, is to buy a 1-month subscription to publishersmarketplace.com. It lists every book deal that an editor at a publishing house and an agent do. So you can type in the name of the agent and you can see all the book deals that they've done, whether they've announced it on their website or not. And that's going to give you a really good sense of the publishers that they have relationships with and how many book deals have successfully gone through for that agent. Also, just consider personality too. This is going to be a very close working relationship, so it is very important that you can collaborate effectively and productively. Okay, we have 2 questions here. My first one is in regards to LGBT novels. Is it hard to find an agent or publishing company when the novel is in that category? More and more agents and editors at publishing houses are looking for stories that feature LGBTQ characters. For instance, if you go to the hashtag MSWL on Twitter and look through the manuscript wish lists from agents and editors, you are likely going to see a lot of results with agents and editors looking for stories featuring these characters. There is a push in the publishing industry currently to feature more diverse characters, so I would say it's absolutely possible to find a literary agent and publisher for this type of story. The next question, can I work a full-time job and still be accepted into working as a published author? Absolutely. Literary agents, especially when they are taking you on and you are a debut author, and this would be your first published book, do not expect you to quit your day job. It takes a long time, and frankly, a very small percentage of authors are able to support themselves financially by just writing full-time. It is not expected of you. In fact, most traditionally published authors and likely self-published authors do still have other sources of income and or full-time jobs. In fact, in your query letter bio, I typically recommend mentioning what you do for work outside of writing. It helps the agent know how writing fits into your life and just helps them get to know you better as a person. Helps them understand what different perspectives you bring to the table as a writer. Because often other jobs, other experiences actually enrich your own creative process and what you're able to write into your stories. I hope you liked this Ask Me Anything session. If you have any other questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. That's the queue I use when I'm going through and answering them, and I would love to hear what's on your mind. As I mentioned, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't already, and download that free story self-assessment. The link is in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and happy writing.